My name is Emma Nishimura, and I'm a visual artist. Being a fourth generation, half Japanese Canadian, it's essential to look back at the internment through kind of these text pieces that are transcriptions of oral histories, through kind of sculptural representations of the weight of memory. It's always been about how can I tell different kinds of stories through different mediums. I found this box about 4 years after my grandmother died. And then there's about, I don't know, probably about 200 garments, paper garments, all made of brown craft paper. My grandmother was living in Slocan City, where she was interned as a Japanese Canadian. So she was clearly making clothes for other people that she was interned with. I learned how to read my grandmother's patterns. I used one of her garments and I ran it through the press. I was able to capture the impression of this garment. And then using the paper from kind of the area surrounding that dress, I constructed these other 3 garments. This piece really is a bridge between my work and my grandmother's work. And it allowed me kind of an entryway to start talking about this point in history. I was really drawn to the idea of working with the traditional wrapping technique called the furoshiki, where you can take a square of cloth or paper, you can wrap up your lunch, you can wrap up a gift. And so I found all of these photo albums of my grandparents, and I scanned in this amazing archive of images. And I created photo etchings of all of those photographs, and then I printed the photo etching on the handmade paper. And then I take one of these, it's kind of a mold of sand, put it inside the paper, the damp paper with the print on it, and I wrap around it. And then I tie everything up. And once everything's tied up, then I just let it dry. I've cut a hole here, and then I drain out all of the sand. And in this way, these are all entirely hollow. They look heavy, and that illusion of weight is there. They have kind of the physicality to them. And so I've made about 450 of them, I think, so far. Kind of thinking about a library, thinking about an archive, kind of how do we pass on these memories to the next generation. For my map prints, I prepare a piece of copper and I transcribing text. And kind of begin the printing process. That involves putting ink over the whole plate and wiping the surface clean, leaving ink only in the grooves. I then put the plate on an etching press and put a sheet of damp Japanese paper on top of the plate. I've worked with Japanese paper. It's so sensitive that it'll pick up every nuance in a print, and it can really reveal kind of all of this, the smallest of marks. Also, just that connection of kind of the Japanese history that's embedded in this paper is very important. When you make a print, it's usually the reverse, and then I flip sheet of paper over. So the viewer's actually looking at the back side of the paper. If we look at this piece, this is Vernon. It's all actually transcribed text. So this is where my dad was born just after the war. These maps show the roads and the bodies of water associated with the geography. So there's large sections that are cut away, others are overlapped and veiled. The text is also really, really tiny. The reason that I wanted the text so small was to encourage people to look up close. When I display these pieces, I have a magnifying glass beside them and kind of really encourage people to look at this story from different angles. Kind of clear that I wanted to interview different generations and kind of the range of experience associated with the internment. Once I started researching and doing interviews with other Japanese Canadians and with my family members, it just kept kept rolling into what the next project was, and wanting to know more and wanting to understand more. So I think there has been a real inspiration kind of my work through this history. But it's also almost felt kind of necessary for me to understand it and to keep uncovering more and to tell those stories through different lenses. Perhaps we have better homes now. Perhaps we have new treasures. Perhaps we don't want to go back to BC anyway. And perhaps we don't care much one way or another how an election goes. Perhaps we want nothing better than to forget the raw wounds of yesterday, to cover the scar with delusions of security. But what was once taken away can be taken again. Who knows, but that the next time will be made easier for the plunderers because we shrugged and said, Shikata ganai. It can't be helped.